The first sign of trouble came on a warm Tuesday morning in June 2035. John Hayes stood on the observation deck of the space station New Dawn, watching Earth spin slowly below him. The blue planet looked peaceful from 250 miles up. That peace was about to end forever. "Commander Hayes to the communications center," said a voice over the intercom. "Urgent message from Mission Control." John ran through the narrow corridors of the station. The crew members he passed looked worried. When he reached communications, the room was silent. All eyes were fixed on the main screen. "What's happening?" John asked. Lisa Baker, his second-in-command, pointed at the screen. "Unidentified objects, entering Earth's atmosphere. Hundreds of them. They're not responding to any communication attempts." John stared at the radar display. The objects were moving in perfect formation. Too perfect to be meteors, too fast to be satellites. "Get me through to my wife, now." Kate Hayes was one of the top scientists at the Rocky Mountain Research Facility in Colorado. If anyone knew what was happening, she would. Kate's face appeared on the screen. Her dark hair was tied back, and her eyes were wide with fear. "John, we're tracking the objects here too. They're artificial. Definitely not from Earth. The government is calling it first contact." "Are they hostile?" John asked. Before Kate could answer, the image on the screen jerked violently. John heard alarms blaring in the background. "They're attacking," Kate shouted. "Major cities are being hit: Washington, New York, London, Beijing, all reporting massive destruction. The president has ordered—" The screen went black. "Kate? Kate," John shouted. But the connection was gone. Lisa pointed at the observation window. "Commander, look." From their position in orbit, they could see bright flashes of light across Earth's surface. Cities burning. The start of the end. For the next 12 hours, John and his crew watched helplessly as the alien ships, which Earth's remaining leaders were now calling the Vexari, systematically attacked every major population center on the planet. Military responses were useless. Fighter jets were swatted from the sky. Missiles couldn't penetrate the alien shields. Finally, a patchy signal came through from the facility in Colorado. "John, can you hear me?" It was Kate, her face dirty and a cut visible on her forehead. "Kate, are you okay? What's happening down there?" "The facility is partially destroyed. We're working from the bunker levels." John listened carefully. "I don't know how long this connection will last. These aliens, the Vexari, they have a biological weakness. Their respiratory system can't process certain compounds. I've uploaded all my research to the secure network. The password is our anniversary." "I'll get it, but Kate, what about you? Can you evacuate?" Kate looked over her shoulder as something crashed in the background. "No time. The aliens are moving systematically. They're not just attacking, they're exterminating. John, humanity needs to survive. Even if it's just you up there, promise me you'll—" The signal died again. This time, it didn't come back. In another part of the world, Navy pilot Olivia Martinez climbed into her F-35 fighter jet. The sky above San Diego Naval Base was filled with alien craft. "This is Hawk Leader. All units report," she said into her radio. "Hawk 2 ready. Hawk 3 ready. Hawk 4 ready." Only 4 planes left. They had started with 20. "Remember, aim for the same spot repeatedly. Their shields weaken with sustained fire," Olivia told her squad. This was their last mission. They all knew it. They took off, climbing rapidly toward the largest alien ship. It was shaped like a crescent moon, dark gray with glowing blue lines across its surface. "Fire on my mark," Olivia said as they approached. 3, 2, 1, mark. All 4 jets fired missiles, at the same point on the alien ship. The first 3 missiles flared against the shields. The 4th one broke through, leaving a small black mark on the hull. "Again," Olivia ordered. They circled around for another attack. This time, only 3 jets made it. Hawk 4 erupted in flames, shot down by some invisible weapon. Their second volley hit the same spot. Another small dent appeared in the alien ship. "It's working," Hawk 2 shouted. The alien vessel turned slowly, bringing some kind of weapon to bear on them. Olivia had never seen anything like it. A pulsing green light that seemed to bend the air around it. "Evasive maneuvers," she yelled, but it was too late. The green light flashed. Hawk 2 and 3 disappeared completely, not even debris remaining. Olivia's controls went dead as her jet plummeted toward the ocean. As she fought with the ejection system, she looked up through the canopy. The alien ship wasn't even damaged. The marks they had made were already healing like skin growing over a wound. The ejection finally worked, launching Olivia into the air as her jet crashed into the Pacific Ocean. Hanging from her parachute, she watched as the Vexari ship moved on toward the next target, indifferent to her survival. Greg Patterson hustled his teenage daughter Lily into their old truck. The sky above Portland, Oregon was dark with smoke, and something that wasn't smoke. Alien ships moving methodically through the city. "Dad, what about Mom?" Lily asked, her voice shaking. Greg gripped the steering wheel tighter. His wife worked downtown, right where the first attacks had hit. "She told us to go, remember? She'll meet us at Grandpa's cabin." They both knew it wasn't true, but the lie gave them something to hold on to. As they drove out of the city, they passed crowds of people fleeing on foot. Greg wanted to stop and help, but the truck was already full with supplies and the few neighbors they could fit. In the rearview mirror, he saw a beam of light shoot down from one of the alien ships. The entire downtown area vanished in a flash of blue light. No explosion, no fire, just gone, replaced by a perfect crater. "Keep your eyes forward, Lily," Greg said quietly. 3 days after the first attacks, a message was broadcast on all remaining communication channels worldwide. The face that appeared on screens wasn't human. It had gray-blue skin, 4 eyes in a diamond pattern, and no visible mouth. "People of Earth," it said, its voice oddly musical. "I am Supreme Executor Zrentak of the Vexari Dominion. Your species has been evaluated and deemed too volatile and unpredictable to be permitted further development. Your tendency toward rapid technological advancement combined with your aggressive nature presents an unacceptable risk to galactic stability." The alien paused, all 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "Complete eradication is the only solution. Resistance is futile and will only prolong your suffering. The Vexari bring mercy through efficiency." The message ended. The systematic destruction continued. By the end of the first week, 70% of Earth's human population was gone. Major cities were reduced to craters. Military bases were wiped out. Governments collapsed. But humans are hard to kill completely. In orbit, Commander John Hayes and the 43 crew members of New Dawn watched and waited. On the surface, survivors like Olivia Martinez, Greg and Lily Patterson, and thousands of others began to gather in remote areas. And in a partially destroyed research facility in Colorado, Dr. Kate Hayes worked feverishly in a sealed lab, studying Vexari biology from samples collected from a damaged alien craft. The Vexari had destroyed Earth and believed they had ended humanity. But they had made a critical mistake. They had left survivors. And if human history had proven anything, it was that humanity's greatest strength emerged in its darkest hours. The end of Earth was just the beginning of humanity's most important chapter. 6 months had passed since the Vexari attack. Earth was quiet now. Too quiet. Cities that once bustled with millions of people lay in ruins. Forests grew over craters where towns used to be. The aliens had done their work well, then left, believing that humanity was finished. They were wrong. In the Rocky Mountains, a settlement called Haven grew among the trees. It started with just 20 people who had fled there during the attacks. Now it housed over 300. Paul Wilson, who had once been a rich business owner, now led the community. Before the attack, Paul had built luxury hotels. Now he helped build shelters from salvaged materials. "The solar panels are working," said Eric Summers, looking up from his tablet. Eric had been a scientist before the attack. Now he was the closest thing Haven had to a doctor. "We'll have power for the winter," Paul nodded, looking out at the small village they had built. "Any word from the other settlements?" The radio picked up a signal from a group in Utah. About 50 people. They asked if they could join us. Tell them yes, Paul said without hesitation. We need all the help we can get. Eric hesitated. Food is already tight. More mouths to feed? We'll find a way, Paul insisted. That's what we do now. We find ways to survive. Later that night, Eric sat alone in his lab, a small cabin filled with salvaged equipment. On his screen was a file he had downloaded during the attack. The password had taken months to crack, but he had finally managed it 2 weeks ago. The file contained research from Dr. Kate Hayes about Vexari biology. Eric had never met Kate, but her work was brilliant. She had discovered that Vexari couldn't breathe in air with high levels of a certain compound. Their lungs simply shut down. Eric wasn't sure how this knowledge could help them yet. The Vexari were gone, for now, but something told him they would return someday to check their work. When that day came, he wanted humanity to be ready. High above Earth, the space station New Dawn drifted silently. To any watching Vexari monitors, it appeared abandoned, rotating lifelessly in orbit. Inside, however, was a different story. Power systems at 40%, Lisa Baker reported. Life support stable. We can maintain this for another 3 years if needed. John Hayes nodded, looking at the map of Earth on his screen. Small green dots showed the locations of known human settlements. There weren't many. Any contact from Artemis Base? John asked. Artemis was the lunar mining colony. Before the attack, it had housed 50 miners. John hadn't been able to contact them for months. Still nothing, Lisa said. But the telescope shows activity. Someone's alive up there. That gave John hope. If the moon base had survived, it meant humanity had 2 footholds in space, not just one. What about Kate's research? Lisa asked quietly. John's face hardened. He still didn't know if his wife had survived. The Rocky Mountain facility had been hit hard during the attacks, but her research had made it out. Eric Summers at Haven has it. He's working on it. If anyone can make sense of it, he can. And if he does, what then? John turned to look out the window at Earth. Then we take back what's ours. In the Siberian wilderness, far from any former cities, Diane Rodriguez trained her fighters. Once she had been a soldier in the United States Army. Now she led what might be the last human fighting force on Earth. Again, she ordered, watching, as 20 men and women practiced with makeshift weapons. Real guns were rare now, ammunition even rarer. We've been at this for hours, complained Ben Fuller, a former office worker who now had muscles like steel from months of training. The Vexari didn't rest until they thought we were dead, Diane said coldly. We don't rest until we know they are. After training, Diane met with her scouts, who had just returned from exploring an abandoned Vexari outpost. What did you find? She asked. More of their technology, said Charlie Wright, placing strange metal objects on the table. Some kind of communication device, we think. And this. He set down what looked like a gun, but like no gun Diane had ever seen. It was curved, with a glowing blue core. Does it work? She asked. We don't know how to use it yet, Charlie admitted. But we're learning. Each piece we recover helps us understand them better. Diane picked up the weapon, feeling its odd weight. Good, because understanding them is how we'll beat them. On the other side of the world, Greg Patterson and his daughter Lily had found safety in the mountains of what used to be Oregon. They had started alone, but slowly others had joined them. Their camp now held 53 people. Lily, now 16, had become the group's technical expert. Before the attack, she had been a normal teenager who liked computers. Now she was in charge of their communication systems. Dad, I got something, she said excitedly one evening, adjusting the radio she had built from salvaged parts. It's faint, but it's there. Greg listened to the crackling voice coming through the speakers. It was describing coordinates, times, and frequencies, instructions for a global communication network. Where is it coming from? Greg asked. Lily checked her equipment. I think it's coming from space. The message repeated every hour. It told of other survivors around the world. It gave instructions on how to avoid Vexari monitoring systems, which were still in place, and it gave them something they hadn't had in months: hope. That night, Greg's group had a meeting to discuss the message. Could it be a trap? Asked Mary Johnson, who had lost her entire family in the attack. Why would the Vexari bother with traps? Greg replied. They think we're already dead. So what do we do? Someone else asked. Greg looked at the faces around him, tired, scared, but still alive. We follow the instructions. We make contact. And we remember that we're not alone. Unknown to the survivors on Earth, the automated Vexari monitoring systems were designed only to detect large human settlements or advanced technology. Small groups staying off the grid remained invisible. This was humanity's advantage. While the Vexari believed their mission complete, the scattered remains of the human race were slowly rebuilding, learning, and connecting. In space, Commander Hayes worked on his plan. On Earth, Paul Wilson and Eric Summers expanded Haven. In Diu, Siberia, Diane Rodriguez trained her fighters. In Oregon, Greg and Lily Patterson connected with other survivors. Separately, they were just people trying to stay alive. Together, they were the seeds of humanity's return. And when the day came for the Vexari to return and check their work, they would find something unexpected: a species that refused to die. The first year after Earth's fall was coming to an end, but for humanity, it was just the beginning. 5 years had passed since the day Earth fell. The seasons changed, nature reclaimed the ruins of cities, and humans, against all odds, continued to survive. The space station New Dawn no longer looked like a scientific outpost. Commander John Hayes and his crew had transformed it into something new. They had attached salvaged metal panels to hide its shape. They had built engines from parts taken from abandoned satellites. From the outside, it looked like space junk. From the inside, it was command central for humanity's greatest plan. The Artemis base confirms they're ready, Lisa Baker said, looking up from her communication station. Her once neat uniform had been patched many times. Susan Clark says the mining operations reached their target last month. John nodded. At 53, his hair had gone mostly gray. Lines marked his face from years of worry and hard work. And Haven? Paul Wilson and Dr. Summers will arrive next week on the shuttle. They're bringing the latest version of the weapon. John looked at the large screen that showed Earth below them. It looked peaceful, beautiful. Most of the scars from the attack had faded, covered by new growth. But the emptiness remained. A planet meant for billions now home to less than 1 million scattered survivors. It's time, John said. Send the message to all settlements. The Exodus initiative begins now. On the lunar surface, Susan Clark watched as her teams assembled the final pieces of the ship Resilience. Before the attack, she had been a mining engineer. Now she was building humanity's future. The ship was huge, designed to carry 5,000 people to Proxima Centauri b, the nearest possibly habitable planet. It had taken 4 years to build in secret, using materials mined from the moon and asteroids. Testing the engines today, said her assistant, Frank Cooper. Susan nodded, her face reflecting in her helmet visor. How's the shielding? Perfect. If it works like we think, the Vexari won't be able to detect us once we're moving. The technology for the shield had come from studying damaged Vexari ships found on Earth. Human scientists had worked together, across settlements to understand how it worked, then adapted it for their own use. 5,000 people, Susan said quietly. It's not much. It's a start, Frank replied. And it only takes a few seeds to grow a forest. In Haven, the settlement in the Rocky Mountains had grown into a small city of nearly 30,000 people. Hidden under tree cover and built partly underground, it didn't show up on Vexari monitoring systems. Paul Wilson waited as Dr. Eric Summers packed his equipment for their trip to space. Their shuttle, disguised as a piece of space debris, would leave from a hidden launch site that night. Are you sure it will work? Paul asked, looking at the small container Eric was carefully packing. It contained what they hoped would be the key to defeating the Vexari, A biological agent based on Kate Hayes' original research. In theory, yes, Eric said. It targets their respiratory system specifically, but we've never tested it on a live Vexari. Paul sighed. We might never get the chance to test it. This plan is about escape, not revenge. Eric closed his case. For now. But someday we'll come back, and when we do, we'll need every advantage. A young woman entered the room. Lily Patterson had grown from a scared teenager into a confident computer expert. At 22, she ran Haven's technology division. The communication network is secure, she reported. I've added the final layer of encryption. The Vexari won't be able to detect our transmissions now. This was Lily's greatest achievement. By studying captured Vexari technology, she had discovered how to send messages that their monitoring systems couldn't detect. More importantly, she had found a way to feed false information into their systems. Good work, Paul said. Is your father ready for his part of the mission? Lily nodded. Greg Patterson was now in charge of Haven's security. He would oversee the settlement while Paul was in space. He's going to miss me, Lily said with a small smile. But he knows this is where I need to be. When Paul looked confused, Eric explained, Lily's coming with us to space. We need her skills for the next phase. In what used to be Siberia, Diane Rodriguez received the message about the Exodus Initiative. Her training camp had grown into a network of resistant cells across 3 continents. They called themselves the Guardians. They want us to help launch a ship to another star, she told her top officers. While they run away, they want us to stay behind. Charlie Wright, now her second in command, studied the message. It's not running away, it's insurance. If something happens to Earth, humanity will still exist somewhere else. Diane wasn't convinced. The Vexari are still out there. Someday they'll come back to check if any of us survived. I want to be ready for them. We can do both, Charlie suggested. Help with the launch, but continue our work here. Build our strength. Learn their weaknesses. After thinking it over, Diane agreed. The Guardians would help create a distraction to allow the Resilience to launch undetected, but their main focus would remain on Earth, preparing for the day when the Vexari returned. 2 weeks later, the shuttle carrying Paul Wilson, Eric Summers, and Lily Patterson docked with the New Dawn station. John Hayes greeted them personally. Welcome to the new home of humanity's hope, he said, leading them through the station. It was crowded now, with people from settlements around the world working together. Lily looked out a window at the massive shape of the Resilience, now moved from the moon into Earth orbit. It's amazing, she whispered. We've selected the first 5,000 colonists, John explained as they walked. People with useful skills, genetic diversity, and the right mindset for starting over on a new world. How are you choosing who goes? Paul asked. John's face darkened. That's the hardest part. There are almost 1 million humans left on Earth. We can only take 5,000. For now, Eric added. If this works, we'll build more ships. The next day they held a meeting with representatives from all major human settlements, connected via Lily's secure communication network. John explained the plan. The journey to Proxima Centauri will take 12 years, he said. The colonists will rotate between being awake and in cryosleep. Once there, they'll establish a base and begin building more ships to bring others. And those of us who stay? Asked Greg Patterson from Haven. Continue building, growing stronger, staying hidden, John replied, and prepare for the day when we return to reclaim Earth. There were questions, concerns, and some arguments, but in the end everyone agreed. The plan would proceed. The launch of the Resilience was set for 1 month later. As that day approached, the chosen colonists said goodbye to their loved ones and made their way to secret pickup points around the world. On the ship they stored Earth's biological heritage, seeds from thousands of plant species, DNA samples from animals, and cultural archives representing human achievements. As the final preparations were made, Lily Patterson made her most important discovery yet. While studying the Vexari communication systems, she found a critical weakness, a way to implant false data into their monitoring network. This breakthrough would allow the Resilience to launch without detection as the Vexari systems would be, fed data showing nothing unusual happening near Earth. The future of humanity now rested on their plan. Some would journey to the stars to establish a new home. Others would remain on Earth, building strength in secret. But all shared the same goal: to ensure that humanity not only survived but would one day reclaim their home world. The Exodus initiative was just the beginning. 23 years had passed since Earth fell to the Vexari. The colony ship Resilience had completed its 12-year journey to Proxima Centauri b, and the humans on board had established a new home they called Nova Terra. A second colony ship had reached Tau Ceti, where they built a settlement named Sanctuary. The human race now existed on 3 worlds, Earth and 2 distant planets. On Nova Terra, former Commander John Hayes, now Admiral Hayes, stood on a hill overlooking the main colony. At 71, he moved slower, but his mind remained sharp. The settlement below him housed 20,000 people. Many were children, born during the journey or after landing. "Admiral, the council is waiting," said a young aide. John nodded and walked toward the large building at the center of the colony. Inside, the Strategic Command Center buzzed with activity. Screens showed images of both Nova Terra and Earth, along with star maps and ship positions. Dr. Eric Summers, now in his 60s, greeted John with a handshake. "The new ships are almost ready," he said. "The biological agent has been loaded, on all of them." After decades of work, Eric had perfected the weapon based on Kate Hayes' research. It targeted the unique respiratory system of the Vexari, making them weak but not killing them. John had insisted on this. They would not become like their enemies. "And the stealth systems?" John asked. "Tested and working perfectly," said a woman's voice. Lily Patterson, now 45 and chief of cybernetics, entered the room. "The Vexari won't see us coming." The plan they had worked on for years was finally ready. A fleet of ships would return to Earth, not to attack the Vexari directly, but to gather critical information about their empire. The mission would be led by Olivia Martinez, who had survived the initial attacks on Earth and now commanded the newly built warship Vengeance. "We received a new message from Earth," Lily said, bringing up an image on the main screen. "Diane's people captured another monitoring station last month. Diane Rodriguez, now in her 60s, still led the resistance on Earth. Her Guardians had grown into an army of over 50,000, hidden in bases around the world. Earth's human population had recovered to over 2 million, all living in secret, settlements that avoided Vexari detection. "Show me," John said. The screen displayed images from the captured Vexari outpost. Inside, the Guardians had found star maps showing Vexari territories and fleet movements throughout the galaxy. "They still don't know we survived," Lily explained. "Their monitoring systems show Earth as uninhabited except for natural wildlife. My false data feed is working perfectly." John studied the maps. "This is more than we hoped for, but it's still not enough. We need to know where their homeworld is." "That's why we're going back," said Olivia Martinez as she entered the room. At 65, the former fighter pilot still stood tall, her gray hair cut short like in her military days. "My fleet leaves tomorrow." John looked at the people around him: Eric, Lily, Olivia, all survivors of Earth's fall, all dedicated to its reclamation. "Be careful," he said. "This isn't about revenge, it's about information. We need to know their weaknesses before we can strike." "I understand," Olivia replied. "But I've waited 23 years for this mission. I won't fail." On Earth, Diane Q. Rodriguez received the message that the fleet was coming. She stood on a hill overlooking what had once been Moscow, but was now mostly forest. Her second-in-command, Charlie Wright, stood beside her. "They're finally coming back," she said. Charlie nodded. "Is everything ready?" "All Guardian cells are in position. When the fleet arrives, we'll create disturbances at key points around the planet. The Vexari monitoring stations will be focused on us, not on the upper atmosphere." "And the captured outpost?" Charlie asked. "Our people have full control of its systems," Diane assured him. "When the human fleet arrives, the outpost will show no unusual activity on its reports." The Guardians had spent years studying Vexari technology. They had learned how the monitoring systems worked, how to avoid detection, and most importantly, how to manipulate the data the systems sent back to the Vexari Empire. "Do you ever think about what life was like before?" Charlie asked suddenly. Diane rarely thought about the past. "No," she said. "Only the future." But that night, as she prepared her troops for the mission ahead, Diane did remember the world before the attacks. She had been a different person then. Younger, softer. The Vexari had taken that world away, but they had created something unexpected, a human race that was stronger, more unified, and more determined than ever before. The colony ship Vengeance, Olivia Martinez addressed her crew before departure. The ship was one of 10 in the fleet, all built using a combination of human ingenuity and reverse-engineered Vexari technology. "For some of you, this will be your first time seeing Earth," she told them. "For others like me, it's a return to a home we never thought we'd see again. But remember, this is not a homecoming, it's a reconnaissance mission. We go in quietly, gather the information we need, and leave without detection." The crew, a mix of Earth survivors and those born in the colonies, listened intently. For those born on Nova Terra or Sanctuary, Earth was just a story their parents told them, a mythical place of blue oceans and green forests. "We've trained for this," Olivia continued. "We know the risks, but if we succeed, we'll have what we need to finally take back our homeworld. Not today, not tomorrow, but someday." The fleet departed Nova Terra the next day, using advanced engines that allowed them to travel faster than any human ship before. The journey to Earth would take 3 months instead of years. During that time, Lily Patterson worked from her lab on Nova Terra, constantly updating the false data feeds into the Vexari monitoring network. Her work would be crucial when the fleet arrived in Earth's solar system. As the day approached, John Hayes felt both hope and fear. The mission could provide the key to reclaiming Earth, or it could alert the Vexari to humanity's survival and bring a second wave of destruction. "We've come so far," Eric said as they watched the fleet's progress on the screens. "Remember when we first launched the Resilience? We weren't sure we'd even survive the journey." John smiled slightly. "Kate would be proud of what you've done with her research." Eric nodded. He had never met Kate Hayes, but her work had been the foundation of their plan. "Do you think she survived?" John didn't answer. He had long ago accepted that his wife was probably gone, but sometimes he still hoped. The fleet reached the edge of Earth's solar system right on schedule. Olivia sent a coded message back to Nova Terra. "Operation Homecoming has begun." As the ships approached Earth, using their stealth systems to avoid detection, they prepared for the most important mission in human history since the Exodus. The future of humanity would be decided by what they discovered in the coming days. The Vexari believed they had eliminated humanity. They were about to learn how wrong they were. 30 years after Earth's destruction, the final chapter of humanity's struggle against the Vexari began to unfold. The fleet commanded by Olivia Martinez had completed its mission to Earth and returned to Nova Terra with invaluable information. The data they collected revealed the location of the Vexari homeworld and detailed maps of their territory throughout the galaxy. Most importantly, they had discovered that the Vexari were planning to return to Earth soon. Their automated systems had detected unusual patterns that Lily's false data couldn't completely hide. The aliens wanted to make sure their work of eliminating humans was truly complete. In the Strategic Command Center on Nova Terra, Admiral John Hayes studied the plan one final time. At 78, this would be his last mission. "All ships report ready," said Lily Patterson. Her fingers moved quickly over her control panel, sending final instructions to the fleet. "The biological agent is loaded on all vessels." The plan they had developed was bold. While Diane's forces on Earth prepared a massive defense system to surprise the returning Vexari, a human fleet would strike directly at the alien homeworld. They would not destroy it, but instead use Dr. Summers' biological agent to force the Vexari to negotiate. "Message from Sanctuary Colony," announced an officer. "Their ships are in position near the Vexari trading routes. They'll cut off any reinforcements." John nodded and turned to Olivia Martinez. Are you ready? Olivia stood tall in her uniform, now adorned with symbols of her rank as fleet commander. We've been ready for 30 years, Admiral. 2 days later, the human fleet departed Nova Terra. 20 ships built with technology that combined human innovation and reversed-engineered Vexari systems jumped into faster-than-light travel toward the Vexari homeworld. On Earth, Diane Rodriguez watched as her people put the final touches on the orbital defense network. Hidden satellites equipped with weapons designed specifically to target Vexari shields now surrounded the planet. The satellites had been built in secret underground factories and launched using stealth technology developed by the colonies. The Vexari ships will be here in 3 days, said Charlie Wright, now in his 70s, but still serving as Diane's second-in-command. All Guardian units are in position. And the shelters? Diane asked. All civilians are moving to the underground bunkers. By tomorrow, no humans will be visible on the surface. Diane nodded with satisfaction. 2 million people would be hidden safely underground when the Vexari arrived. Only the 50,000 Guardians would remain above, spread across strategic locations around the world. She looked up at the night sky, wondering if she would live to see a free Earth. 30 years, she said quietly. I hope it was enough time. On the lead ship of the human fleet, named Hope, Olivia Martinez prepared her crew for the coming battle. They had just emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Vexari home system. Stealth systems functioning perfectly, reported her navigator. They don't see us yet. Olivia studied the screens showing the Vexari homeworld. It was beautiful in its own way, with 3 moons and rings like Saturn. The surface showed vast cities connected by glowing lines of transportation networks. Begin approach, she ordered. Remember, we're not here to destroy. We're here to deliver a message. The human fleet moved silently toward the planet, their advanced stealth systems hiding them from Vexari detection. In the ship's lab, Dr. Eric Summers monitored the containers holding the biological agent. At 76, he had devoted his life to this mission. Ready to deploy on your command, he told Olivia. The agent will spread through their atmosphere within hours. Effects will begin within a day. The agent wouldn't kill the Vexari. It would only make breathing difficult for them, enough to show humanity's power, but not enough to cause mass casualties. This had been John's insistence from the beginning. They would not become like their enemies. As the ships reached deployment position, Olivia gave the order, release the agent. On Earth, the Vexari fleet arrived exactly when expected. Supreme Executor Zrentak, the same commander who had overseen Earth's destruction 30 years earlier, led the mission personally. His massive command ship entered orbit first, followed by 20 smaller vessels. Scan for any human activity, Zrentak ordered. His 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he studied the planet below. The monitoring systems reported unusual patterns. No signs of technological activity, reported his second-in-command. The planet appears uninhabited by intelligent life. Zrentak wasn't satisfied. Send down probe teams. I want visual confirmation. As the Vexari ships began to deploy probes, Diane gave the signal. All around the planet, the hidden defense network activated. Satellites emerged from stealth mode and targeted the alien vessels. What is happening? Zrentak demanded as alarms blared across his ship. Where did these weapons come from? Before his officers could respond, the first wave of fire hit the Vexari fleet. The weapons had been specifically designed to target the weak points in Vexari's shields that human scientists had discovered through years of study. Impossible, Zrentak whispered as he watched 3 of his ships explode. The humans are extinct. At that moment, his communication officer called out in panic. Supreme Executor, urgent message from the homeworld. We're under attack. On the Vexari homeworld, chaos spread as the biological agent took effect. Millions of Vexari found themselves struggling to breathe. Their medical facilities were overwhelmed within hours. Then a message was broadcast on all Vexari communication channels. The face of Admiral John Hayes appeared on screens across their world. People of Vexari, he said calmly. 30 years. ago, you tried to exterminate humanity. You failed. We survived. We adapted. And we have now proven we could destroy you if we wished. But unlike you, we choose not to eliminate an entire species. John paused, his aged face showing no hatred, only determination. The breathing difficulty your people are experiencing is temporary. It will fade within days once you agree to our terms. We demand recognition of human sovereignty over Earth and our colony worlds, technological exchange under peaceful terms, and your agreement that no species should face extinction at your hands again. Back on Earth, the battle in orbit had turned decisively in humanity's favor. Half the Vexari fleet was destroyed and the rest were damaged. Zrentak's command ship sent out a distress call, only to learn that all possible reinforcements were cut off by human ships near their trading routes. For the first time in the history of the Vexari Dominion, Supreme Executor Zrentak faced complete defeat. His homeworld was at humanity's mercy. His fleet was destroyed, and the species he had tried to wipe out had not only survived, but had surpassed his people in strategic thinking. How is this possible? He asked as his ship shuddered under another hit. The answer came in a transmission from the surface of Earth. Diane Rodriguez's face appeared on his screen. You made a simple mistake, she said. You thought destroying our cities meant destroying our spirit. You didn't understand what humanity truly is. 2 days later, Zrentak surrendered. The terms of peace were just as John Hayes had outlined. Humanity would reclaim Earth, keep their colonies, and enter the galactic community not as victims or conquerors, but as equals who had earned their place among the stars. As the first human ships returned to Earth's orbit in 30 years, John Hayes looked down at the blue planet where he had been born. Earth would be restored. Humanity had not just survived, they had transformed into something stronger, more unified and wiser than before. The monument later built in the center of New Washington, Earth's new capital, said it simply. They tried to end us. Instead, they made us limitless.